Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here, back with another video on one of the guns that I just inherited from my grandfather. This is a Remington Model 10, and the Remington Model 10 is, I think it's the very first pump-action shotgun that Remington made. It was made from 1908 until 1928 or 29. When it was replaced with the Model 29. But it is a pump-action shotgun, bottom eject. So this is, the Remington Model 10 is kind of the predecessor to the Ithaca 37. In a way, I might do a video on the history of the Remingtons and the Ithacas and how they relate to each other. But this is essentially the first pump-action shotgun by Remington. Bottom eject, you have your release right here. You just push that little button in and pull back. It is a more fragile design than the Ithaca and the Remington Model 17, which was the improved version of this and the 29 essentially. It is a takedown. You do have this takedown feature. You just pull this little guy out, and then you can turn your tube and then pull it out, and then turn the barrel. So that's kind of a cool feature, very similar to my Winchester Model 12 in 1897. This particular Remington has a 27-inch barrel, or at least something along those lines. The forend seems to be in decent shape. I mean, it's scratched up and all that from being taken through the woods and everything, but I don't see any cracks in it, and so I think that the forend is in fairly decent shape. It does have rust on it. I haven't gone through and removed the rust yet. I had to invest in some more Rem oil because I'm running low on getting the rust off of all these guns. The stock, if I can get in a good position here, as you can see, it's got some cracks in it. It's actually not lined up properly, probably because it is missing some chunks here in the bottom, and just the cracks in the stock, they really, this stock really probably needs to be replaced. I don't know if there's any saving this stock because it is so damaged, but the stock, other than that, I mean, the stock, it has some scratches and maybe some finish wear on it, but it is kind of a pretty piece of wood. A little bit darker than maybe I would like, but I mean, it is still a fairly beautiful piece of wood. The capacity is 5+1 on these old Remingtons. But it does have a plug in it, so you can only use 2 in the tube and 1 in the chamber for turkey hunting or dove hunting, or whatever you want to hunt with it. I'm pretty sure my grandfather used this gun to hunt turkeys. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about with this gun, is kind of the family history that I have known to love about this gun. It's kind of funny, just kind of things that you sit back and laugh about years later, but not necessarily at the time. So the first story is going to have to be at the farm. I guess this is in the 80s, back when my father and my aunt and uncle were young. And my family has a piece of land, we call it the farm, and it's where I shoot quite a bit of my shooting videos. Well, way back when, it actually had an outhouse out there, and my grandma and grandpa were out at the farm, as they are pretty much every weekend, to cut grass and keep the place up. And my grandma goes into the outhouse, and there's a snake in the bottom of the pit, and so she kind of freaks out because she's deathly afraid of snakes, as a lot of people are. And so my grandpa, being the protector that he is, grabs his shotgun. I'm almost 100% sure it was this shotgun, because there really weren't any other options that I know of. He grabs this 12 gauge shotgun and points it down into the pit and shoots the snake, and all of the snake guts and just feces and toilet paper from the bottom of the pit just come flying up onto him and all over the gun probably. And he comes out of the outhouse just covered in crap, and just runs down to the lake, and I guess he just jumps in. This is something that happened before I was born, but I've heard this story many times, and it still puts a smile on my face. It was actually a story that the priest told at the funeral, so that was it was kind of the light spot of the service. Another thing about this gun, another family story about this gun is, I did say in another video that this gun slam fires, and that there's something wrong with it, and I haven't personally taken it out to shoot it and find out, but if you shoot one round and then you rack the pump and then you rack it forward again without even touching the trigger, it'll just fire. And I think the way my grandfather discovered this was when he was hunting one time. I don't know if he was hunting turkeys or birds, I don't know. I mean, this is probably before I was even born. And he shot one round, and then he put the stock of the gun on the ground and racked the pump, and when he came up, the gun went off and shot his hat clean off of his head. And he's lucky that he didn't accidentally shoot himself, but that's the way he discovered that this gun actually slam fires. Now, I'm going to have to clean this gun up and take it out to the farm and maybe put a couple rounds through it to just test and see if the gun actually does slam fire, or if it's related to the gun just being really dirty. I don't know. I am going to take safety precautions for that, just because I know that this gun does have a history of that. And actually, looking online, several Remington Model 8s have had this happen to them. I didn't really read any solutions to that, so I'll have to go to a gunsmith, or go to my great uncle, who is kind of a gunsmith, and take it apart and see what all has to be done to it. But anyway, that's my Remington Model 10. All my research has indicated that this is a 1920s model. I don't think the serial numbers were tracked until after World War I, so after 1919. But the serial number on the gun does indicate that it was made after the World War I. So it was made sometime in the 20s, probably the mid to late 20s. So a pretty old shotgun. I'm not sure if this is the oldest gun I own, but it's probably pretty close. In fact, no, I think I have at least one other gun that's older than this, but that's for another video. One thing I did forget to mention is that the Remington Model 10 was used in World War I as a trench gun. So you had the Winchester 1897 and the Winchester Model 12, and then you also had this gun. And then I'm not sure when the Stevens shotguns came into being, but those were also used as trench guns. But basically this gun with a cut down barrel, like either 20 or 23 inches. It might have been 23 for the actual trench gun version, which is kind of a weird length, but that's what I read. And it actually had a wooden heat shield at the top. So normally you have a metal heat shield on the top, but apparently the Remingtons had a wooden heat shield. And then it also had a bayonet lug, just like the Winchesters did. So, it's kind of a different design for a trench gun, but it was used in World War I. And then I think they decided that the Remington wasn't as good of a shotgun as the Winchesters, so the military decided to do away with them by the time World War II came around. But still, it is kind of interesting that it was used in World War I, and this particular model is post World War I, and this is a hunting version, but still a great looking shotgun, and I really hope to get this gun in good functioning order and just make it look like a really nice piece of history when it's all said and done. So anyway, that's my video on my Remington Model 10. Subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.